Hello there, so today I will be taking a look at and reviewing the Neca Deluxe Predator Clan Leader. So first things first, we're going to be taking a look at the box. So as you can see in the front, it displays the figure and some of the accessories, and it has a bunch of cool artwork such as this and this. And it tells you exactly what it is over there and here. So on the side, it just has the ultimate alien hunter, predator, and some more with the neat Neca branding. And same thing on the other side. On the bottom, it's just that again, the ultimate alien hunter predator, plus a bunch of warnings and the people who worked on the figure. And on the top, just the same thing with this really cool blue and purple design. Don't know what it is. And on the back, it shows the bunch of figures. I believe this is known as the Kenner line. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm sure. I'm also missing these two. And on the bottom here, it shows some of the features of this figure. So now that, and I forgot to mention this, also the inside, I forgot it was a window style box. You can see the figure and along with the accessories and this really cool thing here where you can see the clan leader posed with a bunch of other Neca predators. And also there's a little story here which you can pause right now and read. But with all of that, that is the box. Now we're gonna actually take a look at the figure. So this is the clan leader out of the box, a very pretty, vibrant predator, I have to say. A really cool paint and sculpt, as always with Neca. I really like his paint most of all. It's the orangey, it's a very orange with a bunch of dark themes everywhere. Like so you got some light orange there, dark orange, and some brown. Especially the brown covers a majority of his back. His front, however, is, as you can see, glittered with the orange scheme. Also on his head, the very cool Yacha marking is white instead of the usual reddish looking. And the face as well, one of the prettiest parts about this figure. I in fact prefer him unmasked rather than masked, despite being a big fan of the biomask design. And also he also has the pretty white hair, which is and the gray how do I say this? The gray jewels on the hair as well, on the braids, are really cool and fantastic paint everywhere. I like this little red design on his armor. Admittedly though, most of his design, or his sculpt I have to say, is mostly taken from the AVP line. Namely this, the gauntlet, the shins, even the sides, and even the plasma caster, which I'll show later. So yeah, I noticed a bunch of reuse, I have to say, such as these. These are not exactly the same, but as you can see, they share a lot in common with the Celtic's net gun looking thing on his other arm. He has one wrist blade arm, and he has this. This is a reuse for most AVP predators. This type of look design as well, that's also reused. Same with the shin guard. Not the shin guard, the shin armor that reaches up to the knees, and even with this, that is the same. This is not though. This is added. It's sort of like the Yautja slipper, but there's more like a very buffer sole, how it's called as well there. So yeah, just a lot of retreading in the sculpt, but there's also a lot of new things to love and appreciate, such as obviously the backpack design, or this really cool looking thing on his back. Not sure what they call it, but looks freaking awesome. And yeah, it looks dope as hell. Definitely something new and unique. Admittedly though, he does come with a lot of faults. Since he's very bulky and whatnot, it's kind of hard to articulate him much. You could get him some cool poses, but it's very limited, especially in the head department. But yeah, speaking of which, another thing I noticed, which I know a lot of people complain with, is Neca does not have straight eyes whenever they paint their figures. This one though has eyes directly looking straight ahead. And I just now realized he also has a tiger design, a tiger stripe design. You could notice the black lines with the black stripes all over him, on the chest and on the legs, not on the arms that I can see, which might also be another reason why I really like this figure, since tigers are my favorite animal. Yeah, but overall, the figure is sculpted excellently with a very teal and painted excellently with a teal look. It's very similar to the Ancient Warrior, except I think this one looks darker, a lot darker in most areas at least. But it's the same. It's not the same. It's a very similar teal, which I am a really big fan of. Ancient Warrior is one of my favorite NECA figures of all time. So yeah, that might help to explain why I really like this paint scheme he has. So yeah, but then like I said, this guy's also a bit loaded with issues such as mine. The issue with mine was when I heated it up. This might have been a bit of my fault as well, but when I heated mine up, the joint was stuck when I got it out. So when I heated it up, I heated it a little too much, and it accidentally popped off. Now it's just held there by sticky tack. So do be careful when you get this guy or any other NECA figure in the first place. I got lucky. My young blood and my serpent hunter also not my serpent hunter. My young blood had a stuck bicep as well. I luckily managed to get it loose. Same with the gauntlets. A lot of this guy's upper body was very tight. The torso, from the upper torso to the gauntlet to the bicep. I luckily got this thing unstuck no problem. Same with his gauntlet. I also got the gauntlet on the broken arm unstuck just fine, and oh, he also had a stuck upper elbow. So yeah, a lot of issues, but makes up for it in the paint and sculpt, which I'm a big fan of. I value the look of the figure more than the actual figure itself, which is why if you looked at my recent top 10 rankings, most of the number ones, you could argue, did not have excellent or even good articulation. They had decent, but not really good. But they still ate up a majority of my list because I like the sculpt more. I really like their look. I'm not really one to pose dynamically. I prefer to them just have them sort of vanilla pose like Serpent here, just chilling like this. I prefer them like that rather than all fighting and whatnot, because I also find those look very messy and I just have a hard time pulling it off. So yeah. But there are some also flaws in the paint and sculpt that I didn't notice, unfortunately, such as if you look at the bone artifacts, they don't quite look like bone. They look very plasticky compared to these. While still looking a bit plasticky, they at least have color on their bones. They're actually painted to look like bones. These guys are more just sculpted and just painted as is, no actual added detail, which is something I also noticed in some areas, but they're very minimal. Like, they're rarely like that. I'm not sure if that's just the Kenner style. I never owned any of the original Kenner toys, so I don't exactly know like how those guys look. I'm sure this is based off of it. That's what I'm pretty sure this is what it's based off of. So yeah. So overall, excellently painted and sculpted figure with a couple issues here and there. So with that being said, let's look at the accessories now. So this is all of Clan Leader's accessories. So as you can see, he comes with a good amount of stuff. Quite a lot, I have to say. So first, I'll start with the very back. So over here we have his dope, I repeat, looking staff. Some of it is reused, I noticed, such as, not really reused, this is the only reused piece actually in the entire figure, in the entire staff. It's just the same exact sculpt as Ahab's spear, and same with this. This is really cool. It has a very, how do I say this? It's like a very cool axe piece and the very spike piece. I'm just a fan of the futuristic medieval look of it. Looks very cool. Looks very medieval yet very futuristic at the same time. Really nice sculpted piece with the teal black scheme all over it with the very shiny bits of silver. Really like it. And then next are these tendrils, which are bendy wired actually, in the sense that you could just bend them around free as you want. Do be careful though. And I also really like these. These guys seem to be they were black with some sort of wash, some sort of green emerald looking wash all over them, or azure. It looks azure on camera, but or teal, but it's actually green in person. It's much closer to green than blue. So yeah, you notice mine also has that defect over there. Not really too bummed about it, but yeah. So a really cool piece overall, a bit of a heavy accessory, so if you plan to put this on his arms, they could be quite down heavy, I have to say. And the next up are his hands. He doesn't come with any other more, just the stock hands he comes with. So, as we could tell, these are the AVP Predator hands, just repainted. into the orange and brown scheme that they are now. So nothing too unique, nothing too special. But yeah, it's fine for me. I'm not really too worried about it. But yeah, this also can grip the sword fine. Also make sure to heat this up before trying to put the sword in. Or if you're strong enough, just do it yourself. And we also got this piece. Now this is probably my favorite accessory of them all, outside of the staff. This is his biomask. A really unique and epic looking biomask, I have to say. It has this dragon-like design, which I'm a big fan of, and it's also painted and sculpted beautifully. The red eyes, plus the silver underneath, and just everything about it hits different. I really, really like it. I'm also a big fan of predators with red eyes. I think they look badass with those. And the horns as well. They're luckily not that sharp. They're a bit soft. They're rubbery and soft, as you can see. But the rest of the mask is pretty solid. And the back of the mask just as beautifully detailed as well. You can see the red eyes as well, all the mechanical bits, and you also have this, which is present on a lot of AVP masks. No idea why they're present here though. You could just remove this if you want, if I'm being honest. But yeah, really nicely sculpted and beautiful mask with the dragon-esque look. One of my favorite masks, even though I do think he looks better without it. Funny. And then next up here is the plasma caster. This is the same exact one that Scar has, except it's repainted instead of the usual not really jet black, the gunmetal silver we're used to getting. Instead we got this. It's silver with teal, with a metallic teal all over it, with a plastic here being replaced with orange to make it pop up a bit. Looks cool in my opinion. Not really my favorite paint scheme, since it's a little too bright and a little too teal compared to the rest of the body, but it's alright, it's a good accessory. And lastly are these two bits. These are meant to be the retracted tentacles. And so yeah, and now that that's done, I'm gonna show you how to basically put a lot of these on the figure. So yeah, now time to show you how to put them on. I just put the hands back on since they're not really interchangeable, so there's no point in me showing that. And this is the exact same system as the AVP Predators, so if you've seen any of my videos regarding those, you'd see exactly how to put those hands back on. So first we're going to start with the mask. So a really cool mask. Now this is just like any other mask on the Neca line. You could just plop it on as is. You just sort of stick it and it's not going to fall off. There we go. Why is it not staying? There we go. There. Looks cool with it, a very Anubis looking design as well. Noticed that just now. So next up is the sword. Not the sword, the staff I should say. So the staff you sort of just waltz in here. From my experience, especially with the AVP Predators, you don't directly try to put that in there. You don't. You first take the thinner part and you shove that in there first, and then you start pressing down. Like I said, I recommend to heat it up. I just happen to be able to force it in myself. So yeah. And then now for the tentacles and this piece. These things can go two areas. There's 4 areas you could put this on. That's why there's 2 for each. So the first area you could put them on are on either gauntlet. You could just plop them in like this. They don't fall out. Take them out like that. And the second place is here. These 2 holes here. Let's move the head out of the way because they kind of get in the way as well. Same with the mask. I'm going to remove the mask just for this. So same thing. You just plop them on there. Not sure how they go in. They seem to go in like this though for me. So yeah. And then let's take him out. Is it not going out? There we go. Now for the tentacles. Same exact thing. Same exact gist. You just plop them in. You just put them right in the hole. It could work on either side, but remember I'm not using the other side because the other side has a broken arm. So yeah, this could go right in. I'm having trouble. There. It stays in as well. It's a bit heavy, like I said. And it could also go in here. And since they are anyway, you could pose them around. And yeah. And this, and last but not least, the plasma caster. Now there's a little hole right here. If you're like me, I initially thought it was supposed to be put on like this. Yeah, turns out no. If you look at any other Predator, turns out they're put in like this. So yeah, I'm not actually sure if that's how you're supposed to put it in. Never mind. Yeah, you could put them either way. You could put them like that. Or like this. Totally up to you how you want to do it. And then and also another thing I forgot to mention, this thing, if you don't want him holding it, could be stored right here. Oh god. Oh god dang it. Anyway, so similar to how the AVP Predators have the clip in the back for the combi sticks, this guy also has one. It just clips in right there. So that's how you apply all of Clan Leader's accessories. Now let's get into height comparisons. Now for the height segment. I might as well take off the mask since it sort of increases height a bit. So yeah, anyway. I should start just calling these the height comparison since I only ever compare every figure I ever own to one figure, which is Serpent Hunter, especially if it's NECA based. So yeah, here. As you can see, Serpent Hunter is like 8.75 inches, or he's close to 9, if I'm not mistaken. This guy, as you can see, is freaking massive. He is taller than Serpent Hunter, who is already taller than most of my AVP figures. So he must stand around 9 inches, or at least extremely close to 9 inches. He's a very massive figure as well, and not a heavy one, I have to say. Not too heavy. He's a bit, okay, never mind. He's heavy compared to this guy, who already looks really big compared to the newer Predators, or even the older ones. This guy is heavy. Probably one of the heavier Predators I own. Probably the heaviest, actually. So yeah, that is it for the height comparison. We're gonna move on to articulation. So now for articulation, which is gonna be the last part. First, we're gonna start off with the head. His head can surprisingly look somewhat up. Never mind, just makes him look even more straight ahead. He could look down fairly well. Could tilt side to side, and he could look side to side. The reason why his back movement is very limited, similar to every other Predator I ever owned, it's because of the hair. The hair looks cool and all, but bro, they get in the way so much. Now the arms, I'm not going to use this arm, but just note this has less movement because of this very massive, bulky shoulder armor. So obviously, it could raise up about that much. Bicep swivel, something the other side can somewhat do still. And then he has double jointed elbows. Gauntlet swivel, and since the ball joint, you just freely move the wrist around. Now as for the torso, he has two joints, one lower, one upper. He could surprisingly bend or crunch forward really well with that upper torso. When I managed to get it loose, it was able to go very well. And even crunch back surprisingly well. He could crunch back a lot better than a lot of my AVP Predators. God, why is this arm is irritating. Anyway, now for the legs. Now the legs are a bit limited for the same reasons as every other Predator I've ever owned. I mean, specifically AVP. They're hindered by the armor, so you could kick forward only about that much. Backward, only that much. I'm pretty sure he could kick to the side. Yeah, he could do a split, and he also has upper thigh swivel, which are a bit stuck, but yeah, that's fine. I'm not really gonna use that thigh swivel for anything. Upper knee swivel, double jointed. Okay, I don't want to push the lower knee, but that is double jointed, I think. Yeah, you could see in the back, double jointed. That's another stuck joint I did not notice. I'm not gonna force it this time, since I don't really need that joint to be moving, unlike this one. Now, the foot is also very limited. As you can see, you can only go down that much, up that much, and side to side. So yeah, that is it for the articulation of this figure. Now for final thoughts. Is this figure worth it? Depending on the price point you get him, I would not pay anything over $150 for this guy, even though in the past I used to be like, yeah, I'll pay over $150. And it's best, and to my advice, usually everything brand new is better, obviously, since there's no defects and whatnot. But I recommend getting, especially the older Predators, get them loose or pre-owned, because you won't run into the same issues I did. At least you won't have a broken bicep, unless you stupidly buy one that has a clarified broken bicep. But yeah, because once you get it pre-owned, the joints are already a bit loose, they're heated up, they can move now. So they're not very stiff, and you don't have to be the one to go through the pain of, having to fix it and all. Unlike me. So yeah, anyway, the figure is a very excellent figure, obviously, but to me it's more of a collector's item rather than a figure. Like, yeah, I know Predators from NECA, especially NECA and other brands, are collector's items, not toys, but like, at least the other ones are somewhat playable. You can still play with them, have fun with them. This guy, you can't really. You sort of can only put him into a certain pose and have him there. He's more for vanilla posing than wacky fight scenes, if that makes sense. He's more about that than anything else. He's more meant to be just a display piece, rather than he's meant to be a display piece, not a toy. Which, yeah, I guess that sort of beats, since this guy is 17 and above, whatnot. Yeah, I do kind of understand that, but at the same time, it's a toy. You still need to be somewhat able to have fun with it, whether you like it or not. This is a toy at the end, just not a children's one, as you could see, as the bicep goes crumbling down. So yeah, as of right now, I still have no way to fix this. I am not risking trying to fix it using methods I find online. I guess I'm just gonna have to keep it as is for now. So yeah, it's a worth it figure, bit of a pricey one, definitely a pricey one. Especially even the loose ones are like $100+ for this guy. But I would recommend you rather get that than get a cheaper MISB. I would have rather paid a bit more for one that wasn't brand new, so I wouldn't have to go through that headache. So at least I would be sure joints are in stock. First time I ever recommended getting a loose one. But if you do not, I repeat, if you do not have any other option, if you do get a brand new one, heat the joints up. Do not try using an air dryer, try using hot water. Because the air dryer was a little too hot. Not air dryer, yeah, the hair dryer was a little too hot, and it left it a little bit too long. So yeah, anyway, that's it for my review of the Neca Clan Leader. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.